It's now 7:20, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. As is now customary, we will call roll. Senator Chow. Present. Senator Chung. Present. Senator Feynman.
Present.
Senator DeWolma. Here, President. Senator Kong. Senator Lee. Senator Mohabbat. Senator Mullen. Senator Roche. Senator Pacheco. Senator Kanya. Senator Quinn. Senator Rafi. Senator Shen. Senator Snom. Senator Tan. Senator Truax. Senator Upadhyayula. Senator Wheat. Senator Wu. Senator Lee. One more time, Senator Lee. Okay. All right. With that, the rolls will be closed. We'll move into representatives to the ASUC report, starting with our UCPD representative.
Good evening, all. Welcome back. It's good to see you guys. Oh, is that on?
Do you want us to start? Thank you. Sorry about that.
I said good evening. Glad to see you guys back. I will start off, but I have some information that is forthcoming. We always talk about how crime was on the upswing before the holidays. I got a report, it's almost complete. I will have it for our next meeting. Just to let you know, are you guys familiar with the box? Anybody? Show me a hand if you are. If you are not, safety counts. We have them at UCPD, they're online. You go to the back of the book, and it has an area that's colored in, and it's called a box. That's an area that's specific for campus and Berkeley. You can find it in the back of the book, and it shows you where that is, and why that's important to us, because we both police, but predominantly our constituents are within the box. Crime for UCPD actually has gone down in the last year. From the time we last talked over the holidays, we have statistical data that has come in. Unfortunately, crime for Berkeley PD, which we are in the city of Berkeley, has went up, and has went up tremendously. A specific area, there has been some increase in the box. It's not as high as the rest of the city, but it has increased. On campus, almost categorically, except for maybe one or two categories, crime has went down. I will bring specific numbers at our next meeting. I was just looking at it before I came, some of the raw data. So know it's always a hot topic of what are we doing. To show you that our efforts jointly, you guys actually speaking up and being a voice for us and letting people know some of the safety tips that we pass on has been helpful because crime has been. Most recently, speaking of that, just recently in the last week, there's only been 4 bicycle thefts and 3 laptop thefts and nothing else to report, which for this time of year is good because every time you guys go off on a break and then come back, it's like starting all over again. It doesn't matter what kind of work we did on the last semester, every time we come back from break, it's like starting all over again. So we have to remind our constituents every time we come back, hey, it's probably not a good idea to be walking around at night, looking specifically at your phone and not around at your surroundings. Probably not a good idea to ask the stranger sitting next to you to watch your laptop for you while you run to the bathroom. Those things may seem like, yeah, we all know that. Unfortunately, not everybody does. Other than that, the only other thing I have is I know there were some questions. Somebody had asked me about a student who went into cardiac arrest over the weekend. If there were some questions, I can answer some of them because of privacy I cannot, but I can answer some general questions if there are some. If anybody has a question about that, that's awesome. It's not.
Questions for Senator Lee? Senator Kanya?
Yes, sir.
Is there like a status of this already or?
Unfortunately, he has passed away.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Rafi?
Having spoken to friends of mine who work at the RSF, they've They say that there are 40s, I guess, like supervisors on duty who are trained in CPR, and I'm just wondering whether there is going to be maybe a push or just a suggestion that more employees become versed in CPR so that it's not just dependent on like a few individuals.
I would say that for that to happen, you guys would be responsible for that push. You can actually maybe create a bill and ask that happens. But I do know that the officers that responded were trained. Every single officer is trained in first aid, and every car has an AED. And one of the things from the report that I saw is the first thing the officer did when he got out of the car was he ran with his AED and he tested for vitals and then commenced CPR.
Senator Mullen?
One of my constituents had actually been present at the time and reached out for counseling and psychological services because he was very scared of the situation. I was just wondering what the protocol was for certain circumstances like this when there's a lot of trauma. I have also spoken to some students at my mental health town hall who, after the explosion on campus, suffered from PTSD, but were not able to connect with services through any university personnel. So at what time is there any information like that distributed from UCPD when there's like an emergency response to that kind of thing like this?
We don't handle that information as pain, but if you have anybody that ever has a problem and they suffer from being around an explosion, being around a traumatic event, maybe they've seen somebody killed on campus in front of them, something really traumatic, hope it never happened, but it does, and they're having a hard time getting services, contact me directly. Because Pain Center has services set up specifically for that. And it'd just be a matter of making sure everybody is doing their jobs and making sure that people are letting people know, hey, we have this available for you. Because it is on campus, we do have it.
So at the time of the incident, officers don't necessarily give that information out, or that's not?
They would give let's say if I was handling a call and there was a specific victim, like a person was attacked. I would give that to a specific individual, but there would not be a group effort. Hey, everybody that was around that witnessed that attack, that may have put them in fear and been really, really traumatic. We won't be going around handling each individual a pamphlet. Hey, here's some places you can find resources. But that's not done.
Other questions or comments? All right, if there are none, we'll move on. Thank you. So, next on our agenda, we have a Chancellor's representative and a GA representative who normally do not grace us with their presence. I imagine tonight is not an exception. Please correct me if I'm mistaken. After that, we'll have our ASUC auxiliary report. Let's open it up.
Good evening, everybody. So, from the auxiliary, this is from me. Just make sure you've gotten your flu shots because everyone's like dropping. Everyone's getting sick, so please be careful. And a lot of absences right now in the food center in the auxiliary. But moving on to the report. For hiring wise and staffing, Event Services is looking for student staff for audio-visual staff positions. AV staff will oversee the AV equipment used for events and services. To apply, email your resume to Monica Duran at moduran@berkeley.edu. Event Services also posted an event coordinator position. Gabby is the search committee chair for that position. The target start date for that person will be mid-March. And then Event Services hired a student, Tina Quang, as scheduling assistant. They're looking for an additional scheduling assistant, and these people are the first point of contact for clients and responsible for booking events. So to apply for that, you can email Matt Seguri. All this, again, you can find on the Callisto work study as well. So as I emailed you today, we are conducting on-campus interviews for the AUC Programs and Archives Coordinator. We had one today, and we have two more, one tomorrow, and one next Tuesday from 2 to 3:30. I strongly encourage more students to attend. We had 0 students for our student forum for our candidate today. Don't forget, this person is going to be working with superb, innovative design, perspectives, dance marathon. So we really would love to see some students be there and kind of ask questions of the individual. As far as office manager, the position is posted for 1 more week, and again, it's on post homework study. So February 5th, again, is the closing date for the office manager position. Construction-wise, a question was asked about Maxwell Field. All I have on here that I was told is under construction until sometime in the fall of 2014. Saw cutting and footing excavation at MLK basement means more noise for the art studio until the end of the week of February 3rd. BC Cal has a new sign on the temporary pod. And then the long-range construction schedule for the lower Sprout. Golden Bear, GBC, will be offline from May 19th to August 18th for waterproofing. There will be no hot water or heat for the art studio during the full summer of 2014. And there will be no upper Sprout tabling during summer 2014. So no tabling over the summer. The art studio will close its surroundings program during waterproofing beginning in May. Program updates, the art studio is 10% over its winter session registration. Goals are still a week to go as classes begin. And the art studio continues its collaboration with the Osher Lifelong Learning Center, offering art classes to older adults, as well as a new collaboration with the Department of Public Affairs, offering digital photography classes to employees of that department. Both of these programs start this week. Also, the art studio has increased access to its TAXIF scholarship fund, providing students with a coupon code for a 100% discount upon qualification by the Educational Opportunity Program. There was a question about, okay, we'll get to that in a second. But fraternities and sororities from the Multicultural Group Council, IFC, and Hellenic are in the middle of spring recruitment. Anyone interested in joining should contact organizations directly. A question was asked about closures and various statuses of various chapters. As far as closures go, there were 2 in fall 2013. Beta Theta Pi, the headquarters closed the chapter. Pi Alpha Phi University was part of that closure. Other chapter statuses, if you go to the Center of Student Conduct webpage, and then I think there's a section said fraternity for sorority status, and then a section says flag chapters. I think there's like 12 or 13 fraternities and 1 sorority, so you can check it out and see what their status is. Oh, and and from the Lead Center for signatories. So this is the first year we've had all of our groups move into Cowling. So this, as of this Friday, we will be checking to make sure all signatories have taken the quiz. If they haven't taken it and that causes the number of signatories to drop below 4, it may cause the organization to become frozen, including its finances. So just make sure if you have student groups that you work with that they have at least 4 signatories and they've all taken the quiz, which is on the Lead Center website. Upcoming events, there are 4 free student event planning 101 sessions offered by Event Services in February in the Lead Center. Visit the Event Services website for more information. And then lastly, Art Studio gift certificates are now available online and perfect for your Valentine's Day purchases. So,
Thank you, Ron. Question. Senator Padilla.
Hi.
So I had a question about insurance for certain fraternities. I was wondering if there's a composite list of which fraternities have insurance through their nationals, or if there's any other organizations providing them insurance, or if you have that information, or if I should ask Brandon.
From my understanding, each university is covered through their national organization, but I can find out from Brandon if you want to ask specifically if they have any to you.
Okay. Well, not. I'll send you an email question. Okay.
Other questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
So we'll move then into the spot for the Commercial Student Services Board report. We have one tonight. Don't believe we do. The retreat is scheduled for February 5th, so expect one on February 5th of the week after the retreat, so the work is all out from our CSSC reps. Next is the ASUC Finance Officer report.
Hi. So as usual, I author week 2 budget bill, which is in the binder with other policies. So this last week I finally finished the spring budgeting application on Calendar. I still need to test it with other Python centers and data testers, so it's not yet ready yet, but it's like almost ready. And as I said last week, this mid-year report this year will be incorporated in the spring budgeting application. So it will be a one giant application instead of like 2 separate applications. Today I met with the fundraising director, Melissa, with Chris Wong from the Lead Center, and we discussed her role as fundraising director and what we can do in terms of ASUC fundraising. So, and I invited her to finance committee meeting next Monday, so that we can talk to her more about it. And also today I met with Melissa from the EVP office, Chloe, and also our webmaster Matthew Wong, and we discussed in detail about spring budgeting and the possibility of having a quiz before the student groups actually go on the application to apply for spring budgeting on Calendar. And also we decided that we are going to make a video and post it on the ASUC website, and also host several workshops for student groups about spring budgeting process. And yes, alright. So finance committee right now, we're going to discuss about the rubrics and the definitions of the funding process for spring budgeting for certain groups, so that will happen next Monday. And we're still in the process of beta testing the spring budgeting application. Yeah. Any questions?
Senator Mullen.
Hi Dennis, can you speak a little more about what this quiz would look like for student groups?
Yeah.
For spring budgeting?
I think the quiz is going to be on the ASUC website. The link is going to be on asuc.org/budgeting, but don't go on it right now, please. Well, you can go on it, you'll find something surprising. I think it's going to be a total of 10 questions. The purpose of the quiz is to make sure that the student groups actually saw the video and understand the basics of spring budgeting and its purpose, what you need to know before, such as you need to be an RSO with the Lead Center before you can actually apply for spring budgeting, just stuff like that. We're also going to have videos with the quiz so that we can explain everything in detail, and also workshops and all the sounds.
Other questions? All right, if there are none, thank you, Dennis. So we'll move now into guest announcements. Before we do public comments, I don't think we have anyone here formally for a guest announcement. We do have 4 public comment cards though. So if anyone else beyond the 4 people who have submitted cards already would like to make a public comment, please sign the public comment cards in that table and fill one out, hand it to me or Lizzie, and we will make sure that you get on the speaker stack. So our first public comment card comes from Kyle McCoy on a non-agenda item. He describes it as an all-time resolution.
Good afternoon, ladies. Greetings, Senate. I just wanted just to talk to you about one of our, I work with Advisory as necessary, and one of our members sent the Senate a Napolitano resolution bill, and we're hoping that to all senators, and hoping that one of you might bring it up to the table so that it could possibly be passed for the Napolitano bill. And another thing is that we as BAM would like to know more information about the San Jose State University bill and everything else about that. We saw that did pass. That would be all, and we hope to see you next week. And if you guys did not receive the bill or so,
Great, thank you.
Would you like to first and second bill? Ken?
That's a question for the senators. If you want to go ahead and email them, please feel free. The public comment's not exactly time for this stuff. Let me reset our timer to 2 minutes before we welcome up our next speaker, who is named Matt. He's a GA delegate and he's here to talk about HFAE advocacy.
We just come with it. We're actually doing like a disabled student sheet. We just all come up with it all your cars. That easier.
Sure.
All the time the same thing. It's just 3 different cars.
Okay, so if there are 3 of you, I will just give you 6 minutes. And we'll continue to speak together.
My name is Matt. I am a GA delegate. I actually serve on the Healthy Advisory Board, and we're the 2 advocates. And we're trying to build support for a proposal that would institutionalize a disability health maintenance program for our friends with disabilities on campus. And really where this proposal starts is top-down. Because 40 years ago, the Disabled Students Union, 50 years ago, the Disabled Students Union came to you, and they had a vision. It was to create a office or program that would help students with disabilities, which was located in Pop, which now is obviously on campus. But the moral of the story is that joint advocacy created a worldwide model of having a disabled students program at every college. And what we're trying to propose is to once again make that kind of change for the world and becoming the first school in the UC campus to have a disability health maintenance program that will really allow our students to exceed given a lot of the requirements that disability has. And right now, UHS is acute care, rec sports is not prepared to deal with this level of disability, and the DSP program falls outside of their legal accommodation rules. So I'm going to hand it over to Ann, who's going to talk about some of the issues that we've had with our disabled students union.
Just as a reminder to the guys, if you don't speak into the microphone, you risk not being picked up on the recording. So if you're open to that.
So hello, my name is Anne. I'm the co-president of the Disabled Students Union. So approximately 11% of the UC Berkeley student body population has a disability. And currently there is no extensive medical professional or physical therapist near the campus. So students have to travel 2 to 3 hours to and then 2 to 3 hours back from whichever location they need to get the proper medical or physical therapy session set up. And as a student, we all know that time is very valuable. You have, aside from academic accommodation, academic obligations, you have social, and also if you want to partake in extracurricular activities. If you have poor health and don't have time, then it's hard to have the most enriching and most engaging student experience on campus. So now, Hamza is going to share some of his.
Well, these 2 certainly know me well. I'm the most long-winded person you'll ever meet, so they left me with the full 3 minutes and 30 seconds of comment time. I think I know some of you in this room, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hamza Jaka. I am the immediate past co-president of the Disabled Students Union, and this advocacy was a major part of my student leadership work, and part of the reason I'm here for you today. So, do any of you know how students can go to the Tank Center and schedule physical therapy appointments? Well, it's complicated. Usually it only happens after a temporary period of a severe injury. Now, for many of our students living with day-to-day difficulties or day-to-day tightness, they don't qualify for physical therapy at the Tank Center. What we want to do with this proposal is create access for students with disabilities to be able to go to the gym and work with people who know how to help them, in the most general of senses, take care of themselves. You know, when I was a student leader and working 80 hours a week, probably put in some more overtime in your Senate compatriots back in those days. Took calls at 3 in the morning. I developed severe back issues from not being able to stretch my back every day. It's something that's simple, would take 10 to 15 minutes, and requires a minimal amount of training to do. Now, a lot of our students often have to withdraw from classes because they don't have access to facilities that will allow them to maintain proper care of their health. DSP and medical centers aren't really good places to go if you want someone to work out with. Hell, I don't think they visit the gym more often than once every 2 years. You know, this is a proposal that really came about of a need to promote access, which is something I think that Berkeley stands for. And you all need to remember that we have an opportunity to lead the rest of the world. As far as I'm aware, no college campus in the country or internationally has a health maintenance program. How often at Berkeley do we say we lead the world? Here's an opportunity for y'all to actually do it. You have the proposal, take a look, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you. And Justin and I can circulate it as well. So it's basically just to hire one medical expert to oversee it with like 2 support staff. But we're just trying to institutionalize funding for just one qualified medical staff. You know, this is a $30 million UHS thing. We're just trying to ask the chancellor for one position to work with this population for the history of UC Berkeley. Go Bears.
Just to be clear for anybody who is not fully caught up on taxes proposals, which President Capito may or may not touch on later, this is a taxes proposal that's being forward. The next item on our agenda, since we've gotten through our speaker stack, is going to be approval of the minutes. Probably not from December 11, 2013, because I think we proved that already. Correct. From January 22nd of 2014. So, is there a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd of 2014? All right, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any questions about the motion? I see some people with curious faces.
Well, I just have to pull the minutes from like a folder. Pull the minutes up.
Okay. So, for the January 22nd minutes, no questions, comments, concerns? All right, if there are none, are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. The minutes from the 22nd are approved. Senator Mohammed, do you want to speak to whatever you're trying to do?
Yeah, so as soon as we came in, we received a FICOM body piece, and they asked for $180, but we had already passed it last semester, and after researching it, like investigating it, it seems that like FICOM did pass it, however, they didn't get into the minutes, so I just need to pull the minutes from October 16th, and then just add it to the minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so if that's a motion to amend the minutes from October 16th to reflect the body piece approval that finance gave them, is there a second to that motion? All right, it's been made and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion carries. Apologies for that, it does sometimes happen. Like my first finance bill had the same problem, not finding any evidence. If there are no other approvals for any other minutes that need to be made right now, we'll move then into new business, which means delegating bills out to committees. A special note on this before I send things out to committees is that Senator Quinn emailed the office manager, who is right now an interim office manager. I think last week was Jordan's last week, and this is the first week of having our interim office manager. So there was a small glitch in our system, I guess you could call it, and one of Senator Quinn's bills that was attached to an email with 2 bills did not make it. So one bill did, one bill didn't, 50% success rate. And so I think just in recognition of that, to make sure that we're not causing the bill to wait a whole other week because of a clerical error, I would propose additionally a new business that we add SB 8, a bill in preparation to apply for telegraph pedestrian safety funds. I don't know what that means, but indeed. So with that said, and senators correct me if I'm mistaken on any of these bills, and they're not going to the place we intended. For Senate Bill 3, Senate Bill 5, Senate Bill 6, and the newly added Senate Bill 8, those will go to external. Senate Bill 4 will go to constitutional and procedural review, and Senate Bill 7 will go to the Finance Committee. So, with that said, is there a motion to send the bills to committees as stated? Senator Davila, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second. Where was it?
Not yet. I didn't realize that.
Okay, so the motion has been made, it's been seconded. Got a question? Are there other questions, comments, concerns? All right, are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. That will be our new business. We'll talk more about that next week, basically. Our next item is approval of the agenda for February 5th, 2014. So I'll talk more about this, I guess, in my exec report. It's ambiguous whether or not this is really under my jurisdiction. But I would like to request on the February 5th agenda that it be amended to reflect a special order on perspectives for a full half hour on that item. So I'm proposing that amendment to the agenda. I would also actually propose that we move roll call from item 7 to item 2 to reflect the new changes. Senator Fernando?
I'd also like to request a special order about spring budget.
Okay. Senator Mullen?
So I was actually gonna do that as well. So Dennis and I will be giving a special order on spring budgeting February 12th. Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring that request back next week, since we're doing the February 5th. Any other special orders or changes to the February 5th agenda? Okay, if there are none, is there a motion to approve the February 5th agenda with the stated changes?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Awesome, there's been a motion, is there a second? Awesome, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'll now move into executive officer reports, starting with Office of the President.
Hello, Senators. Hope your week's going off to a great start in the middle point here. Okay. Dean of Student Search Committee, we selected 7 semifinalists that are going to be interviewed via Skype over the next 2 weeks. So I'm booked from like 9 to 5 for 3 days straight, just doing those. So if you don't see me, that's why. Additionally, I had my first standing meeting of the semester with Chancellor Dirks on Monday. We discussed kind of where we're going to go with the rest of the semester and how we're going to continue to collaborate on more events between students and admin. Dates and EVP pack, you don't know this yet, but I'm announcing it to you now because I just found out this week. The Chancellor's going to come to the Senate to do the State of the University address on February 12th, which is the day before the Napolitano campus visit. So he and I will be at the dinner reception with Napolitano. All the execs and chiefs got invited
actually, along with the graduate assembly exec board. Because originally I said last week it was only going to be Max and I, but then I don't know what happened, and now now all the execs and chiefs are invited. So we'll be coming from there, and the chancellor and potentially the new executive vice chancellor and provost, Claude Steele, will be coming with us back from that dinner reception to here, and then the chancellor will introduce the new EVCP and give his State of the University address. So we're going to need to make sure that Senate starts a little later that evening. But he's scheduled right now to be here. I believe we get out of the dinner at 7, but since your start time is at 7:20 now, we have to figure out the logistics behind that. But he can only stay until like 7:45-ish. 8 is a very hard stop. So keep that in mind if you can.
So super flexible.
Basically. And then, what else happened this week? So that's that update. We've been in conversations about what to do with BSF right now. We're kind of at a standstill since we transitioned lawyers, and Greg did a lot of the stuff regarding BSF. So I'm still trying to figure out how to transfer account information from Greg over to me for the time being, so that way until we contract a new person out to be our BSF operator or administrator. But I really need you all's help to think about ASUC alumni potentially who are not university employees, who are in the Bay, understand what the ASUC is and understand what the Berkeley Students Foundation is, and to see if they'll come back and be the administrator for BSF. We're really not trying to have the lawyer or our lawyer now be the administrator the way Greg was for BSF, because it doesn't make sense for your lawyer to be a scholarship organization director, and we're hoping that it's someone with more of an ASUC focus that can actually has capacity to do it. But so please think of names and people and get back to me if you can think of anything. But I had a phone call with Steve earlier today to discuss this, along with some issues surrounding Cal Lodge. Well, not issues, but just trying to figure out more plans with Cal Lodge, and some other SSCCC updates that Safina should have for you later. And I'm sure she's been talking to you all about that. CACSIF meeting today with students, and we discussed proposals more. Again, if you're planning on submitting proposals, the deadline is the 31st, and so please talk to me, Tim, or Valerie as soon as possible. We're pretty sure we know all of the proposals that are coming in, so please don't blindside us, because it's really difficult to talk through proposals when we're not prepared to talk about them in committee. Other than that, you can just read my report. I believe that's all. Oh, SIS project. I had a student systems executive steering committee meeting this morning, and we just talked more about progress. Still a lot of stuff regarding vendors and RFPs, trying to hire a project manager, marketing, communications. To my knowledge, the SIS website is pretty much up to date. So if you want to follow where the RFP processes are, if you're that interested, or find out more about the project, again, it's sis-project.berkeley.edu. And if you have any more questions, you can ask myself, Senator Kong, Senator Shen, and who's the third person who's on that? Yeah, for updates when it comes to the leadership team of it. Because they are involved in conversations more than I am at this executive steering committee level. That's
Great. Any questions for our ASUC president? If there are none, thank you, President Vito. We'll now move on to the report from the Academic Affairs Vice President's Office.
What happened previously last week, which I did touch upon, and also there are some things that I will expand on because as of Monday, there has been a few more meetings that I've had to meet with, particularly around CACSIF, which I'll touch on after. So naturally, there is a huge influx in staffing, so having to generate a lot more support around the grant department, seeing 2 staffing changes with directors under MCF in particular. We are moving around interns and I guess essentially promoting people to different roles to be able to keep with the upkeep since the grants have been released and to prepare for the release of the 6th grant. We are looking at outlining the priority terms that we want to submit to the EDCP within the transition manual to say, on behalf of the AEP office, these are some of the things that we hope that you would advance on after, now you get your feet wet and you get, used to being on campus, but we definitely want to ensure that a lot of the momentum isn't lost in regards to continuing funding libraries. I don't know if you all saw, Breslauer did publicly release a document in relation to his support to libraries, but there's going to be an additional push that's going to be needed for our new incoming EDCP to make sure that those funds are continued and generated, as well as other areas that we've been looking at are adjunct courses and other support services that have in the past related and fallen directly under the EDCP's portfolio. With that, there's come a lot of conversations around taxes that have actually been a lot of the focus of this week, seeing as the deadline is on the 31st. And as a point of clarification, or just to expand on the committee, so we are not only tasked with working with ASUC elected officials and students as to the proposals that they wish to submit, but also meeting with different departments and talking about ways that we can leverage our student support to their different proposals. So we've been meeting with Lead Center Auxiliary. I've been tasked with, in particular, meeting with under the Division of Equity and Inclusion. So there are various programs that fall under the Division of Equity and Inclusion, one of them being CE3, so the Center for Equity, Educational Excellence. And through there, they are looking at various proposals that they are in the works of modifying and refining those projects to ensure that a lot of the funding that TACSF has previously given to a lot of support services we see on campus either can thrive and continue, or we are moving in a proper direction, given that this is the last year TACSF can be as large a pot of money as it is. So that has definitely been a priority of the end of last week and this week. So, as of that, there are a few other updates in terms of like this safety met with the chancellor and talked about the undergraduate educational experience. And there was also a meeting between me and Senator Pacheco as a more so a follow-up from last semester's bill. So I believe it was SP16. And the conversation with one of the group advisors, Brendan, and we discussed, potentially looking forward. It is really difficult with the unforeseen, Dustin's unforeseenly leaving us and having issues, the personal issues he has. They had to shift gears, and I know that they were developing a 2 to 3 year strategy, and they had a lot of plans as to how they were going to continue. Although he is gone, they are trying to make up for the lack of staffing, and we'll be making different changes in terms of having a president summit. They will be having 2 introductory meetings. So there are projects and there is movement to actually expand upon what happened from that previous bill. So there is a lot of positivity on that, but also a bit of a standstill considering that there is an empty SCE position and there is conversation as to whether they want to advance staff funds or if they're going to put money into programming funds, and that they may or may not be somebody for external funding in other committees. That's all.
Questions for the AAP, Senator Mullen?
So Harry sent out his report on the Commission of the Library last week, and I was trying to read through it. I had a little bit of hard time just understanding some of the history behind it because I haven't been involved in the conversations. And there was a lot of talk about like where funding was moving and those kind of things. So I just wondered if you could expand kind of on where you think the report came from, like logistically, and where you see it going in the future.
So I also believe that Senator McCoy could also expand upon it as a student representative sitting on the Academic Senate Committee on Libraries. So a lot of the report does also not only expand on where the campus contribution funds are going, but where previous external donorship has gone to. And even looking, so not only with the report, but in conjunction with the release that Breslauer did send out, a lot of the money that they're able to leverage is coming from external donations. And the amount of money been able to contribute usually have, on the basic level, been able to sustain the 22 libraries being kept open, and making sure that the reserve of books doesn't fall like under decay. Like the UC system, UC Berkeley still has the best book collection under reserves, but in terms of the development of technology and infrastructure, there hasn't been enough money given in those areas. So if we talk about actually expanding and flourishing as an institution, people are trying to make a bigger ask in terms of developing those areas. So that's why there has been one-time monies given and recommended, but that isn't going to be certain that it's going to continue, which is why there needs to be a push for not only consistency under some portfolios for campus contribution, but a bigger push for university relations to make libraries a priority, which is something that the chancellor has expressed interest. So it's different from times in the past.
Other questions? Yes, Senator Chen.
Hi, is the CACSIS funding, we were talking about how it's being reduced a lot after this year. Is that mostly just because of the staff reduction, or is there another factor?
So that's directly tied to the fact that CACSIS monies comes directly from the students and comes from our fees. And although we've seen tuition hikes, we haven't seen an increase in student service fee money. So our money the money that goes into the CACSIS pot has stayed consistent for years. And one of the reasons why we're able to give recurring funds is because a couple of years back, CACSIS made the decision to award the committee recurring money. So there's different pots of money in which departments and proposals can fall under, whether they want to receive one-time funding for either pilots or for startup costs or for maintenance, or whether they want reoccurring positions to fund staff members and for it to go into the budget office. And one of the things that they decided was to make CACSIS reoccurring so that there could be continuity. But the rest of the monies in terms of the one-time pots will not be allocated after this year. So that will see a drastic reduction based on no longer having one-time pots.
Senator Rocky.
I'm just wondering if you had any updates on the RISE scholarship process and whether we're still going to be going ahead with info sessions and distributing those.
So I myself along with the RISE scholarship director have moved forward with the timeline that we have set for mid-March. However, we are also waiting on our first DXF board meeting because there's supposed to be monies that were not only allocated last year, but this year we also received monies from BSF to fund part of the RISE scholarships. So we want to make sure that we have as much information before we release and can anticipate how many scholarships we want to award. So that has caused a standstill for RISE Architects book, which essentially a lot of the logistical pieces and developing the application and all those things are still in the works, but before we can say for sure what the amount is, we don't want to publicize. We don't want to make it public.
Okay. Any other questions for our AAVP? All right, if there are none, thank you, Valerie. We'll move on to our report from the Office of the External Affairs Vice President.
Hi everyone, as you can see, I am not speaking up, but I'll be delivering the report briefly and then taking questions if we get any. So basically the last week, we attended a UCOP budget webinar, which outlined the UC and state budgets and similarities and differences between the two and what the priorities were. She also attended a public service center, student advisory committee, which discussed the future of the Public Service Center and kind of how to gauge student understandings of the center and what the priorities should be for the center. And there was also a Google Hangout with UC President Janet Napolitano yesterday from 2 to 3. Also, she met with Nicholas Kitchell regarding the UC caucus, which is currently being officially registered. They drafted and submitted a bill for consideration for the UCSA meeting. This weekend. The agenda can be found on the URL that is in your packets. Events, there's a symposium for education in poly which happened last week. The event was attended by 300 students and apparently was a huge success. The ASUC Public Safety Mixer took place on Saturday with leaders from ISC, PHC, RHA, and BSC, as well as city officials, staff, and neighborhood leaders. Right there, they launched a safety video initiatives, and they began a Porch Light campaign. And that is pretty much the important stuff on there. Related to SSCCC updates, she doesn't have any as of right now. She's talking to the lawyer and expects to get a response by Friday. Any questions?
Senator Mullin.
Can you pass on this thing and just ask her to email us when she has an update on Friday?
Okay.
Senator Quinn.
Hey, Ish, can you tell us where EAB McCoy is tonight? Because it's really nice to be able to ask her questions in person.
I don't have a response for that.
Other questions? Comments, concerns? All right, if there are no other questions, we will move on. Thank you. So we move on to a report from our student advocate's office.
Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. As you can also see, Tim is not here. Tim is currently feeling very sick since we stayed up very late last night finishing public comment on sexual assault policy in the UC. So, I'm giving him tonight off. Main update, we had finished our kind of response to the policy. Some of our big kind of drawbacks right now in the policy as it stands is that it fails to, we feel, fully comply still with some of the laws that are really important to this issue. Additionally, the definitions around some of the important topics in this policy were really vague, and there were a variety of other issues. I think overall it's a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to making sure that this covers the kind of topics it needs to the full extent it has to. If you'd like to see our comments, pretty much what we sent to you all the last time. There were some additions we made as well. We can send them to you again if you're interested. Please let me know. At the very least, please read the policy. It's going to really have an impact on the policy at Berkeley, and it's important to know what the UC system is going to be putting out. SEO recruiting. If you have any people you know that are really interested, students that are interested, our first info session will be tomorrow, and I can send out details on Facebook, all that jazz. So if you have any friends that are interested, please let me know. Bank consolidation continues. I think it's going okay. We've had more disagreements than we've had in the past. We can talk more about any specific issues you're concerned about. We have a student group together. Thank you very much to those who put staff members from your office forward to join that group. I think we basically accommodated everyone who's interested in joining, so I was happy to see that. We met for the first time before the last meeting, and it was a great discussion. It's going to be really useful to have those people with us on board as we move through the semester. We're in the final stages. RFPs will be going out the next week or two, so we'll be moving forward. That's about all I want to touch today, and I'm open to any questions.
Questions for our student advocates team staff? All right, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully my report will be brief. Also, for starters, this is just highlights. You can see more of it in my report, but of the more important or I guess exciting things, I met this week with, last week, with the webmaster and marketing communications director to talk about the state of our website. We've come to the conclusion that it is a lost cause, the way that it looks right now. And so we're going to be in the process of making minor modifications to the current website while concurrently building a new one. Essentially, what we're going to do to circumvent or prevent the problem we had last time where everything became broken when we switched is we're going to take the entire current website and archive it as a subdomain within the existing ASUC website. So it will become like old.asuc.org or something, and then if there's something that you really missed from the website, you can go back to the old one and find it, and over a period of about a year of transition, we'll be able to pull everything from the old website onto the new one that may be missing. So that's the goal. We've tried to plan it out so that there's as little disruption as possible. I'll leave it to our marketing and communications director and our webmaster to talk more about the timeline, and they may or may not come in for a special order presentation on this and other branding developments that are happening right now. Really exciting stuff with like redesigns and ASUC branding. Thankfully, the people at the art studio and the ASUC Auxiliary were able to lend us a talent for that. So there's that. ADP Projects and Developments has made some breakthroughs in partnering with campus buildings to get ASUC, I guess, fixtures. And so the idea is that we'll have those like walking glass display cases in at least Dwinell, Barrows, Evans, and Wheeler. And so we're talking with those building managers, and it'll probably be nothing huge, but the idea would be that once a year, as new people are elected, you can put up some, get to know your student government officials page in there that is visible to people on the first floor of those buildings, with the big ASUC.org, blah, 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 just so that students in passing will be able to come into contact more with ASUC branding. So the idea is to pilot it or to try it out in these 4 buildings, and if we don't get a ton of pushback or if it's not outrageously expensive, that ideally we could extend it over time to other buildings on campus. We have more ASUC slide. Again, I'll let marketing and communications director talk about that, but it's recruitment tools for the internship program, leadership development, and things of that nature. Also coming out of projects and development, the projects and development director, Joanna, has projected that by the end of the semester, the Wiki project will have about 250 articles on it, which I thought was really awesome. They've recruited people from the ASUC decal, which I'll get to in a second, to also participate in that. And, well, I guess, okay, so to move on to decal, I think we have something like 140 people in it, so it's really exciting. The EVP programs director, Sean, who facilitates the decal, is still recruiting to see if we can fill it out. I think the maximum is he's trying to assess to get additional people in, like 104. The maximum capacity is like 200 people. Okay, so they have like 190 then, so not that many seats left. So it's a really big decal, and I'm sure how we recruited so many people for this decal, but it's the biggest ASUC decal. Like, it's bigger than any of the ones that were combined in the previous years that I've been here. So very exciting stuff. Lastly, in terms of UP programming, we have our first mixed screens event. It's the environmental community social event. It's strictly just like a mixer for people who are interested in environmental issues. That's going to be at 5 o'clock on Friday here in Hammerhead. And so, yeah, that's to look forward to. There will be like kale chips and sriracha popcorn and things, other co-op and food. And lastly, on perspectives, which is technically not an EVP program, though it is perceived as an EVP program. I met yesterday or the day before with a group of people from health performances, 2 ASUC advisors, one of my staffers who's also part of the perspectives team, and we met to discuss like what the options for the show are. I think to give you a framework of how I'm looking at this, Perspectives is a show that operates with a structural deficit right now. It's living off of a taxes grant that allocated something like $100,000 to last over 3 or 4 years, and that grant has now been depleted down to an amount that will maybe allow the show to survive at its current size for this year and next year if we don't make significant changes. So like tickets have been sold at $2 and $3 respectively for like pre-sale and like that sort of thing, and when the majority of the tickets are sold in the dorms. And so it's something that we talked about with past perspectives directors, and it's very effective to sell low price tickets, but it also doesn't help us recover the money that it costs to rent a space like Telecom. So after talking with health performances and this group, I'm doing it from a budgetary perspective as opposed to like a visionary programming perspective, so what Perspectives is. But we're trying to reconcile all of that. Darren, the perspectives director, told me via email today, he's been in correspondence with senators or a senator or something like that about coming in, and that's why I requested the special order on Perspectives for next week, because there are significant, I guess I would say changes, I think improvements that are being made to the program as it stands right now. So that's all that I have in my report. Are there any questions? Senator Mullen?
I like the question, please. In regards to the ASUC website, you talked about creating a subdomain of the past ASUC website. Could there possibly be an initiative to also attempt to collect past ASUC websites domains? Because I've seen previous ones from years before as well, and I can like talk to you more offline about it. But I think it's an interesting idea, right? But like trying to keep, I'm kind of broken record, but keep archives of past, like what we have done. Like there's like old domains of what the ASUC website used to look like in the 90s, I think.
So are you talking about like the archives of OCF keys?
No. There's like website keys that of like what the ASUC website used to look
Like something other than ASUC.org?
No, I've seen it before.
Okay. I mean, we can talk about that. We budgeted in this last round of budget realignment. I mean, not a huge amount of money, but some amount of money for an Amazon cloud server that will give us space to do online archiving a lot more. If we want to like archive fully functioning websites as like, I don't know, 1990.acc.org or like that sort of thing, I would have to talk with the webmaster about visibility. I can't speak to that, but it's possible. Yeah. Other questions? All right, so we'll move from executive reports into whatever is next on the agenda, which is special orders. Oh, appointments rather. I don't believe we have any pending appointments. For the members of the External Affairs Committee, for the seat on the External Affairs Committee, I'm now in talks with my sixth person about this position, and I believe that she will accept it. Though I believe that about the previous time, so who knows. I hope to have that confirmed for you very soon. If I end up getting a confirmation, then I will send her to the committee on Monday to sort of test it out before she's been formally sworn in or appointed in that capacity. Yeah, Senator.
Is the process the same for like any other official you've appointed? Like this, like they come to the Senate and we ask them questions and you confirm, or is it more with an external committee?
It would be by the Senate collectively.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay. So we also don't have any special orders. We'll move then into legislative officer reports, beginning with the Attorney General.
Graceful as a thank you, honorable members of the Senate. Round two. Last Thursday, I guess mostly what the Attorney General's office is doing right now is getting ready for elections. So I met with Gina, the elections chair last year, or rather I met with her last week, to sort of talk about how we're going to work together and the role that the Attorney General is going to play in this year's elections, and so just trying to square everything away, and I'm really confident that we'll be able to go through elections with minimal bloodshed. And that was last week, and she's going to be coming in to report regularly to the Senate, so you have that to look forward to. The bylaw reorganization is something that Conrad is still working on, something that I'm working on a lot. It's been taking a great deal of what I've been doing as Attorney General, and I know that the EPP Legislative Department is going to be joining in on that work, and Senator Tan will speak to that more later on, and I don't want to steal his thunder. But other than that, under the list any other relevant information, I put a lot this week. There are just a lot of trigger requirements and things that I'm supposed to notify you about this semester. So I'll be trying to put as much of that in that section as possible, so please actually read that. For those of you who submitted the 4 individuals, I think Senator Quinn for Couser, Senator Week for Student Action, Senator Feynman for Squelch, and Senator Woche for the Independent Party for Common Sense. I scanned all of those documents and I emailed them to you personally. If you didn't get that document, that scanned document, then please let me know. It's really important that you have it. And again, if you are going to be transferring the signatory party authority of your party, then please get that form to me as soon as possible. I'll also email that to you. If you didn't get that, please let me know. Also, there was a new lobbying requirement that was added last semester, thanks to Senator Truex's efforts. And although it's I'm supposed to notify you a month before the elections rather than everyone lobbying last minute. I thought I would give you a little more of a head start, so please be mindful that you are now required to fulfill the lobby requirement, and that's in the bylaws at the end of Title I. There was a new section created, and I know that we don't have new bylaws up on the website yet. With the change over in the office manager, it's been difficult to find out how we can get the bylaws updated and then verified in the process and uploaded to the website. So if you need a copy of what that language is, please let me know. Lastly, I added the dates. I finalized them with Gina and the Elections Council. The candidate information session, it's informal, it's just about information. This is going to be on February 28th. The mandatory candidate briefing that everyone has to attend, not send proxies this year, is March 18th. And then the elections themselves, I misspoke last time, it's not going to be the Monday and Friday, it's just Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it's the 8th through the 11th. And then lastly, on the side note, a lot of students have shared that they would like a parliamentary procedure workshop. And so if any of you are interested, I know I gave like one really quickly over summer, but if any of you are interested either for use in the Senate or any other organizations that you might be a part of, let me know, and I will see where in the semester we can schedule a little workshop where we can get together and practice ruling each other out of order and appealing each other's decisions and such. So, are there any questions?
Question for Attorney General, Senator Woche.
Yeah, I just have a question about the lobbying, because I know, I remember it was something that was, we talked about in honor of it wasn't mandatory, but strongly recommended. And this is the second time I've heard you say it's required. Something I'm going to do personally, but I just wanted to make sure that, unless, I don't know, it's that.
Well, I know that we had the discussion about penalty for it, since we can't, like, you know, California State Assembly you would like move your office and cut your staff budget because you don't have a budget or offices. So there are limited consequences of what we can do, but I think it was just sort of like this on the honor system, it's still a requirement. If you don't do it, it's kind of like boo on you, it was part of your responsibilities. So I mean, it's still required, there are just like no consequences of it. And I think the reason why we scheduled it so that we notify before elections, so that if any of you are running in an election, we could apparently like shame you that you didn't do your requirement as a senator, so I should give you another shot, and then your party would participate. And the members of Congress, if I'm recalling that conversation differently, please feel free to correct me.
Senator Kennedy, moving ahead.
So for the lobbying, there is no penalty, but like what we talked about is that we are going to share our experiences on, I believe like the last, one of the weeks we have for the spring semester about our experiences in lobbying. And the point of it is not really to shame senators for not doing their responsibilities. I know everybody has busy schedules. It's more to really give you that experience about talking to state legislators or legislators overall, and really engage our student government with the governance of our state and our nation.
Okay. Are there any other questions for our Attorney General? Senator Woche.
Sorry, where did you say we could find the language of the government?
I don't think it's on the bill tracker because I don't know that the bill tracker's been updated to include it yet. So you can email me for right now until we can get the website fixed. To include the new bills. I know that Ledge Department is working on updating the bill tracker, so it should be up on there, and I'm sure that they'll let you know as soon as it comes up. Otherwise, you can email me and I can send you the language.
Okay. Other questions? All right. If there are none, we'll move on. Okay. So I'm going to move down this list. And for other legislative officers or folks who are on this list for recording, give me some sort of auditory cue to let me know that you are here so I don't quickly breeze by you. Report from our Solicitor General. No? Okay, yeah, no, sorry. Not yet. Okay. Judicial Council Representative. Elections Council Chair. Director of Cal Housing. Marketing and Communications Director, who's already on this, yeah?
Okay, hi everyone. No one already
already talked about the website, but I guess I'll talk about it a little more. The ACC website is what my education team is going to be working on basically the whole semester. It's our kind of biggest project, I guess. In terms of the timeline, we are attempting to get it out by March 31st, before elections is the idea. Just so we can kind of centralize our brand as ACC and put out all the logos, everything to do with the website and the branding of the ACC all at once. It's kind of ambitious, but I'm sure we can get it done. We have a big team and everyone's on board with it, so I'm excited about that. The new logos, like I said last week, will be rolled out of the website. We are still finishing up the new ACC logos, but within the next couple weeks, we should have a website up, something like brand.acc.org, which will have all the new logos there, which you can access. And also, like Nolan said, I've ordered a bunch of ACC swag. So the last week, we have been organizing the tabling program for Welcome Week. And hopefully over the next couple weeks, we'll be tabling continuously. We're recruiting for interns, for the executive offices for ACC. So that's been going really well. I think we've gotten quite a few applications. So we have right now in the Senate Punch ACC water bottles, lanyards, pens, and sunglasses. If you want to grab anything like that, it's sitting in the corner there. So yeah, any questions?
Senator Mullen.
I was just wondering maybe if you could speak to Congress next week, because we're talking about appointment timelines for the spring, and your job will be really instrumental in making sure that we actually get people to apply on time for these positions.
Right.
So we talk a little bit more like appointment, which is
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Anybody else? Okay, thanks.
Next, we have our Youth Affairs Officer, or the Superb Representative Services Board Director, or the Director of Environmental Sustainability. Let's move then into standing committee reports, starting with constitutional and procedural review.
Hi, so for Conrad, we passed SB1, a bill to, sorry, the language is not on the calendar right now, it just says SB0, there is no SB0 on the consent calendar, it's SB1. I apologize, I sent the language of the bill to our office manager and I forgot to attach the actual bill. So that was fixed and gladly. So hopefully we can amend that on our agenda. Secondly, we had a talk over if we should restart our numbering system for our Senate bills, just because it's very difficult when our bills become archived or we want to look up past bills that it starts back to SB1 in the spring. So we thought of something in the essence of having the letter F for fall, and then SB, whatever number, and then S, and then SD for the spring. So things like that might happen for Conrad. We don't have a bill yet for that. Also, we are renumbering the bylaws, and the EVP legislative team, which is predominantly the interns, will be helping out renumbering the bylaws. And why that's important to happen right now is just because we don't want to send up the next year's Senate class with some of the bylaws being renumbered and some of them being not. So it will be very difficult for the next year's Senate class to learn about our bylaws and our rules. If any members of the Senate is doing anything about election bylaws, please notify Conrad as soon as possible. We don't want to be changing election bylaws during election season because it looks really bad on our Senate. Third, so we did approve our Conrad spring calendar. I will send that to the Senate so you know what we're talking about during committee. And also lastly, for other standing committees, if you don't know which appointed officials you're responsible for recruiting and appointing this semester, talk to me after the meeting.
All right, next we have finance.
Hi everyone. So this week we passed SB2, and it passed with a total of $3,120. $1,200 of that coming from the Greek Opportunity Fund, and then $1,920 of that coming out of the Student-Based Reservation Fund. Additionally, we spoke about spring budgeting, and for those of you who don't know, it's going to be coming out on February 14th, and we're going to be talking about it. Dennis and I are giving that special order on February 12th, I believe. So be on the lookout for that, and if anyone has questions and specifically wants to talk to me about like the process or how they can better help their constituents, like definitely shoot me an email.
All right, any questions for our FICOM chair? Okay, fair enough. We'll move then into University and External Affairs.
Hello. A student, his name is Riley Murray, sent Attorney General Sabo an email asking if the ASUC was addressing the drought we are currently in. And so we responded, XCOM responded to that by writing a bill called a bill to address California's drought. So we just thought of creative solutions on how to work with executive offices and other, I guess, like university facilities on how to best address the drought to ensure students conserve water. So if you could look over the bill, if anyone else has any really creative ideas on how to do this, please email me and I can bring it up during committee since I know we all have a committee at the same time. That's it.
Okay. So we'll move on to the consent calendar with Senator Tan's previous clarification on what is right now SB0 dash, actually SB1, a bill to amend Title I, Article 6, authorizing standing orders for the ASUC Senate meetings. Are there any senators who would like to pull something from consent calendar? Because if there are not, we will move on and consider it passed. Congratulations. Okay. We're now in immediate consideration since nothing got pulled from consent calendar. We shouldn't have anything there. There is neither old business nor special committee reports as far as I know. I believe we also don't have ASUC representative reports, so please correct me if I'm mistaken. And that leads us into our last discussion type item or announcement type item, which is elected official announcements. We'll start this time on Senator Wu's side.
Hello everyone. So Chinese Student Association is collaborating with several East Asian student organizations to co-host a Lunar New Year banquet that's taking place at iHouse Auditorium. It's on February 1st, and they also invited David Choi. He's a pretty famous YouTube singer. So if you like music or Asian food, tell your friends to come out to iHouse on February 1st. No, it's not. I wish. They'll be selling tickets on Sprout now.
Currently, I'm putting together a proposal regarding grade deflation at Berkeley and how it affects like graduate students and whatnot. If this is something that any of your constituent members are interested in or have any recommendations for, feel free to contact.
Hi everyone, so the Educate the Base Summit, so the workshop proposals, or if you want to do a workshop, I need to know by this Friday. So if you or any of your constituents or who's you're working with wants to do a workshop, please email me the title and if you're available by this Friday.
Hello? Hello? Okay, sorry. Hi everyone. Again, I'm going to talk about my API welcome day. Please come out February 8th, like 12, like 1 to 6. We're going to try to get some food. If y'all want to come, just come. If you want to sign up for a workshop to facilitate, please let me know. We are looking for workshop facilitators. And also, that's it. Thank you.
So for Student Opportunity Fund, last semester we used up about $100,000 in grants, and we still have just to update everyone, we still have about 80,000 in our co-curricular funding and 50,000 in educational. So really encourage your kind of student groups, constituents to really apply. Since the more funding we use up, the kind of more push for to have vice chancellors constantly maybe add more to this funding, and it's a great source of funding. Beyond that, just happy New Year's. Sorry. Yeah, so student groups can apply more than once. Usually we take that into account though. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well.
Okay, I have 4, so I'm trying to be really quick. On February 23rd, we have a big queer event. It's going to be really exciting. The director of QARC is trying to make me perform. We'll see about that. I don't have talent, so unless I can write a bill for them or something. Tomorrow night, 7 to 8, I'm doing a presentation for Cal Berkeley Democrats on voter registration and voter suppression. You don't have to be a Democrat. This affects a lot of our communities regardless of political party, but I will say the Republicans are the ones that generally do it against people of color. So, and then I'm working to host a USSA teach-in about student debt with Berkeley College Republicans and Cal Berkeley Democrats, and so look out for that in mid-February. We still haven't gotten a room reservation. And then one more USSA related update. I just got back from the board meeting this weekend in Arizona. Do not drive to Arizona, it's a 16-hour drive. But they told me that Safina got 10 spots for the legislative convention, LegCon, which is in March, and it's fully paid. So if you want to go, you should apply. There are only 2 days left. I don't know why it wasn't in her report, but go to tinyurl.com /LEGCLN14. The app is pretty short. You can definitely do it in 2 days. It's a really amazing experience, and I hope a bunch of us can go.
This Tuesday I have my first mental health coalition meeting of the semester. I'm invited some of you email if your constituents are interested in joining the coalition. You just bring along a calendar of events and awareness and different ways that we're going to try and enter these conversations. It's Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. And the other thing, I just want to give a shout out to Senator Kanye for being the first senator to fill out the December reporting. He did a great job. You should all look to his report as a model to hopefully start doing your own reporting. And then we can start to build institutional memory that you can pass on to future senators. Because let's be real, they're coming for a job soon.
Peace, everyone. I'm working on a cultural competency a lot more this semester. Looking to have a meeting this Friday, bringing people from ASUC, the Lead Center, the Greek community. So if anyone's interested in addressing, institutionalizing workshops and training through the ASUC and the Lead Center with cultural competency, please talk to me afterwards. We can get y'all in this meeting so we can hear y'all ideas.
Hello. So Unity in Christ is doing a 72-hour prayer event sometime in February, late February, and we are planning that right now. So just giving you an update. And that's it.
All right, if there are no other announcements then, we'll move on to our final roll call. Senator Chow, Senator Chung, Senator Feynman, Senator Nwoma, Senator Khan, Senator Lee, Senator Mohammed, Senator Mullen, Senator Woche, Senator Pacheco, Senator Kanye, Senator Quinn, Senator Rocky, Senator Chen, Senator Snow, Senator Chan, Senator Truax, Senator Padilla, Senator Wheat, and Senator Wu, Senator Feynman, Senator Lee, Senator Wheat, Feynman, Lee, and Wheat. All right. We'll consider the rolls closed, which means that we will be adjourning at 8:44 p.m. Thank you all.